Good morning, listeners, and welcome back to the Morning 4 podcast. It's Monday, September 9th, 2019, and I'm your host, Katie Parsons. And I really do mean welcome back. We were off last week, except for a short podcast that aired on Monday due to my family needing to evacuate for Hurricane Dorian. We live on Florida's Space Coast on the east coast of Florida, and for a while there, it looked like our home and area may be in danger. And so we went ahead and went a little further inland. Fortunately, our community was spared. We had some rain, some wind, some branches down in our yard, but that was about it. We were devastated, however, to see Hurricane Dorian unleash on the Bahamas. And so I know my family and our greater community is now looking for ways to help people who live down there who have lost everything in this storm. So I wanted to update you. Our family is safe. Our property is safe, but our hearts are with those in the Bahamas. And today's episode actually is going to center on that with some ideas on how to help people at the very end. So I hope you'll stick around for that. And I am happy to be back, and I am happy to get us both off on a positive track for the week ahead. So let's go ahead and get started with
Number 1.
So here's a little bit of information on the Bahamas. I did a little bit of research. I have actually never been there, even though it's only about an hour plane ride from where I live. I would love to visit, and hopefully soon. But I did look up a little bit of geography facts just to learn a little more. And it turns out the Bahamas are made up of over 700 islands. All of them are some sort of sand or limestone. But of the 700 islands, only about 30 of them are inhabited. And of the 400,000 people who live in the Bahamas, about 70% of them live on the island of New Providence, which is the location of the capital, Nassau. And the Bahamas are technically not in the Caribbean. And it's located north of the Caribbean. If you look at a map, it's kind of clearly marked, but we always kind of group it in because it's pretty close. The islands were formed from a totally different process than the volcanism that formed the islands of the Lesser and Greater Antilles. The greater region that they would technically be a part of the Caribbean would be the West Indies, but often it's grouped with that group because of its proximity and its similar climate and history. So if you've ever referred to them as being in the Caribbean, you're not alone.
Number 2.
In spite of the concentration of the population in urban areas that are devoted to tourism in the Bahamas, the traditional pattern of small farming and fishing prevails in some of the villages, most notably the southeastern islands. It's predominantly a market economy. It's heavily dependent on tourism and international financial services. So here's something interesting. The gross national product per capita is actually one of the highest in the regions. Manufacturing happens there. Cement industry has a presence there, pharmaceuticals, as well as canned fruits and spiny frozen lobster. So that's a little bit more about the Bahamas. It's more than just a place for people to vacation. It's good to remember there's people that live there and strong industries, and hopefully in all parts of the islands, those will be back up and running soon.
Number 3.
Today's feel-good news story is sourced from Florida Today. So people on Florida's East Coast like us are breathing a little easier this week after the wrath of Hurricane Dorian stayed just enough offshore to prevent any major damage or flooding to coastal areas. People in these areas, of course, are grateful, and so grateful, in fact, that they're taking action. They're trying to pay that good fortune forward by aiding relief drives and funds for the Bahamas. Already, cruise ships that dock in Port Canaveral and have typical routes to the Bahamas have taken supplies, clean water, food, and other items to the islands. Over the weekend, 5 aircraft carrying more than 5,000 pounds of supplies donated from residents in Brevard County landed in Sandy Point in the Bahamas. I know my city, the city of Satellite Beach, Florida, held a supply drive over the weekend and collected more than 10,000 items to send down there. Of course, supplies are just the start. Financial contributions to trusted charities are often even more helpful because they fill the gap of needed items on the things that are hard to send. I have a link in today's show notes with a rundown of vetted charities for you to look over before making your own financial contribution.
Number 4.
So with all that in mind, the Bahamas on our heart, and an optimistic outlook for the week ahead, let's go ahead and get started with our affirmation. Repeat after me. My life starts with each moment. Today, I embrace all its good. Look for the good around you today and try to be part of that good. I'll see you back here again tomorrow.